Have you ever been in a debate, right, and you lay out all the undeniable facts, everything is crystal clear, and the other person's opinion just doesn't move an inch? Or hey, maybe you felt that resistance inside yourself. Today, we're diving into exactly why our beliefs can be so darn stubborn.
So picture this. You're scrolling online and you find a new study that just completely flips a long-held belief of yours on its head. I mean, the data is solid, the source is top-notch, the conclusion is clear. Your logical brain is saying, okay, time to update the software. But something inside you, it just digs its heels in. Why is that?
Because most of the time, our beliefs don't really budge. Or if they do, it's at the speed of a glacier. You've got this bullet train of evidence coming at you, but your belief is stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. So what's the deal? Why is there this huge gap between the facts we see and the things we feel are true? Well, that's the big question we're tackling today.
This mental drag, this lag between getting new info and actually changing your mind, it has a name. It's called conservatism bias. It's one of those mental shortcuts our brains love to take, and honestly, just knowing what it is the first huge step to thinking more clearly. So let's break it down.
Now, it's really important to get this straight. Conservatism bias isn't about just flat-out denial. It's not you sticking your fingers in your ears going, la, 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 I can't hear you. The real issue is the weight we give to new information. We basically treat game-changing evidence like it's just a feather, when it really should be a sledgehammer. And that lets our old, comfortable beliefs hang on for way, way longer than they should.
And this isn't some abstract idea from a psych textbook, okay? This bias is running in the background of our lives every single day. Let's look at a few places it pops up, starting with something we all have: plenty of opinions.
Oh, we've all done this. You meet someone new, and boom, within seconds you've formed an impression. They're nice, they're standoffish, they're smart, whatever. But here's the crazy part. Even if that person spends the next year proving your first impression totally wrong, you'll probably only tweak your opinion just a little. That initial snapshot, no matter how wrong it was, has an incredibly long shelf life in our minds.
But this doesn't just mess with our social lives. It can have a huge impact on our finances, our health, you name it. So let's switch gears and see how this bias messes with how we see risk and, well, the odds of things happening.
Right, so imagine you invested in a stock you were absolutely sure was a winner. Then, a new report comes out with some pretty serious red flags. You read it, you understand it, but you don't sell. Why? Because that original belief, that this is a sure thing feeling, is so powerful you just downplay the new negative info. It's like being the captain of the Titanic, seeing the iceberg and thinking, it's probably not that big.
Okay, but maybe the place this bias gets us the most is in how we judge other people. At work, with our friends, even family. We're constantly sizing people up, and conservatism bias can lead to some really big mistakes in how we see them. Think about it. We all put people in boxes, right? Oh, he's not a team player. She's definitely not leadership material. But then what happens when that person totally proves you wrong? They step up, they take charge, they absolutely crush it. What do? So often we just write it off as a fluke, a one-time thing. That first negative label is so stuck in our heads that we can't even see the new reality standing right in front of us.
So we've seen how this bias can really steer us wrong. But that leads to the big question, why? Why are our brains so resistant to an update? Why do we cling to old beliefs like a security blanket even when they're clearly worn out? Well, it turns out it has a lot to do with our brain's obsession with saving energy.
Think about your beliefs as like a house. Your current beliefs are this comfy, familiar home. It might not be perfect, maybe it's got a leaky faucet, but you know where everything is. Now, imagine someone hands you a report that says the foundation is cracked and you need to tear the whole thing down and rebuild. Whoa, that's a massive project, right? That's exactly how your brain sees changing a core belief. It feels costly and difficult. It'd much rather just patch up a few holes and pretend everything's fine.
Okay, so our brains are a little lazy. What's the big deal? What's the harm in being a little slow on the uptake? Well, the consequences can actually be pretty serious. When your internal map of the world doesn't match the actual world, you're going to get lost. And in the world we live in today, getting lost is not a great look. In a world that changes by the minute, clinging to old beliefs is like trying to navigate a new city with a map from 1950. You're just going to end up in a dead end. The gap between what you believe and what's real just keeps getting wider, and pretty soon, your decisions aren't based on reality at all. So let's get specific about these dangers. First, it keeps us holding on to ideas that are just plain wrong, even when there's a mountain of evidence saying otherwise. Second, it makes us delay making better decisions, because we're hesitant to change course. Third, it makes us rigid, unable to adapt. Fourth, it can blind us to real growth in other people. And finally, it basically locks in our earliest mistakes, making us repeat them over and over. Okay, but here is the good news. We are not just helpless victims of our own brains. We can actually fight back. Just by understanding how this bias works, we can take real practical steps to deal with it and become more open-minded, rational thinkers. So let's open up our mental toolkit and see what we can do.
Here are 4 strategies that really work. Number 1, recalculate, don't just adjust. When new information comes in, don't just tweak your old opinion. Try to build a brand new one from scratch using all the info. 2, give new evidence the weight it actually deserves. If it's a game-changing fact, let it change the game. 3, just notice. Pay attention to those moments when you feel that resistance to changing your mind, and ask yourself, why is that? And finally, number 4, get comfortable with changing your mind. Seriously, it's not a weakness, it is a sign of intellectual honesty. It's a sign that you're committed to getting closer to the truth.
I want to leave you with this one last thought. For a long time, I kind of thought of my beliefs as part of my identity, something to be defended. But I've realized that's just not right. Our beliefs aren't who we are. They're just our current best guess at making sense of the world. And as we learn more, our beliefs should learn and grow right along with us. After all, the goal isn't to be right all the time. The goal is just to be a little less wrong every day.